Okay, so I'm here with Benoit Genin.
Yeah, right.
I struggled with that name. Hopefully I've pronounced it fairly accurately. He's joining us from a film, a really interesting, unusual film called Devine, Hapiness. Welcome to Brussels. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Steve.
Congratulations. And he's obviously the filmmaker. I normally ask. I'm going to ask you what the film is about because I did. To me, it was quite surreal. But perhaps you could. What is the basis of the storyline? What is the storyline?
So yeah, it's kind of surrealistic, but it's the matter of the film is the passage to adulthood,
Right.
which is adolescence, which is a concept between the childhood and the adulthood.
Yeah.
And we speak about someone who lives mostly in his head and don't express it to the world.
Right.
Which is the theme of school, is very hard and violent to him. Love, lots of things that you have to assume when you go for adulthood. And this is a bit too strong for this guy who don't have the weapons to face that.
Mm.
And so he goes easily in his own dreams with the use of drugs and how do you say that? Escape.
Yeah.
A way to escape all of that difficulties. And the film is about that, the surrealism that he makes in his own brain and then doesn't go with the reality of the things and then dies.
And I was going to say, is this based on you? But obviously the fact he dies is not based on you. But is any of this a reflection of events that have happened to you?
Of what?
Is it based on any of your experiences?
Kind of, maybe not experiences, but sensibility of what we see.
Right.
I didn't like school. I found
Nor did I.
like school was violent to me.
Yeah, I wasn't violent. I just wasn't a massive fan of it, and yeah, it was a necessity, of course. But do carry on. Sorry.
No, it's okay. But it's a necessity. But I mean, if you are seen by the school that you don't follow your passions, or if you like even theater, but you make mathematics, and we always say to you that you are bad in it,
Yeah.
and you don't have the choice to make something else, so you will be unhappy because you won't be used for what you are made to do. And that's a way I left school before I could choose what I have to do.
Yeah.
So it's kind of what we lived, but in a bigger way in the movie. So yeah, he dies, and in a way he just don't go away with his dreams. He wants to live in that. So it's a way of dying that is maybe positive for him.
And it's quite. I mean, obviously, we see lots of independent films. Being able to say this is quite. So we see all genres, all styles, but even though this is quite. It's quite not heavy going, but you need to spend a lot of thought thinking about the guy, the boy, the adult, the adolescent in it.
Yeah.
And I guess it's not to everyone's taste, is it? I mean, it's not, as I would call, in inverted commas, a standard narrative film. It's not really about that. I mean,
it's experimental.
It is experimental, but you've got to decide. You're the filmmaker, so you've got to decide what it is you're trying to say and how you're going to say it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how much time is actually spent deciding? Well, this is because it is quite stylized and it's experimental, but you obviously can always do that. But where do you come from in terms of trying to decide how you're going to make the film look? Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course, it makes sense. And we had like a very specific way to make it. Like, we tried to make the most organic way of how a dream works. You know, with elements of reality.
Yeah.
Taken with different interpretations, like if you took acid. This is where you see a reality, but a different way. And sometimes for young people, or even for adults, it's a way to express things you don't express in normal life, and you have the strength to express it when you have the use of drugs, because it gives your defenses away, so it's a relief. And visually we wanted to reproduce.
Yeah, you've got it. You want to show that
how
in some way, of course.
The brain works when you are on acid maybe, or
I've never tried acid, so
Yeah.
I can only imagine. I mean, I just haven't. But have you always wanted to be a filmmaker? So I think you touched upon this earlier when you was at school. The creative side of you, was that always your calling?
I used to be an actor,
Right.
but I see when I'm growing up, I like the most writing stuff. I'm sensitive to play.
So did you find acting not oppressive but restrictive?
Yeah, maybe restrictive, but not restrictive because it's very rich.
Yeah.
But just be interpret, it's like a bit restrictive for me. Yes, creating what I'm gonna tell by being an actor, but also write what is it to tell a story, and being part of the writing of the stuff is very important to me.
Because I suppose when you think about it, when you act, and this is just me saying it from a sort of subjective point of view, although you're putting your interpretation on it, there's always going to be someone telling you, well, that's not quite right, or that's not what I wanted from the performance. So you might assume to do it in a certain way, but you're going to be told by someone that's not what I want, and of course that's the restriction, isn't it?
Yes.
So
yes.
it's not necessarily true freedom, is it? I guess.
It's really interesting what he says, and yes, but if you are an actor in something you write, you still have to be directed when you play.
So if you're the director,
so you have to make you have to let your ego by the side and says, okay, you direct me now, and I'm gonna make it your way.
Yeah.
Because if you take part in too much of the artistic way of doing it, you maybe gonna how to say that, shake a bit lots of things, and it is not going to be so clear you want.
Oh, I see. So you
so being directed is very important.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, you're calling the shots, aren't you? It's you're the filmmaker.
Yeah.
So which ironically means that you've got to tell someone how to act. So there's a paradox in there, isn't there?
Yeah.
So you didn't want to necessarily be told how to act, but then you've got to tell someone how to act, I suppose.
That's it.
So, but at least it's kind of irrelevant, because the whole point is you've chosen this path, haven't you? And so do you miss acting, or have you got past that now?
I act in the movie. Maybe I don't look like
No. But sorry, what I mean by that is, when I say do you miss it? Do you miss that per se, in terms of, because you've decided to go down this road, it's more creative in terms of your career.
Yeah.
But are you happy with that choice, or?
Really happy. Yeah.
I guess what I'm getting at is, are you going to leave acting fully behind?
No, I don't think so. Like, I have new projects now that I write in co-direction with someone.
Yeah.
Who's going to lead all what is image, all what is directing.
Yeah.
And I'm really happy when I'm writing it that I'm gonna play it.
Yeah.
And that's the way I think when I write it. It's who is this character? How am I gonna play it? Parting from me, from what I want to tell, from my sensitivity, which is the theme we want to discuss about life, that we disagree with, or we want to make a bit of revealing it, making light on that point of life. And
when I understand what you mean. Because I always think of filmmaking as a clash between, and not always, but generally a clash between the commercial and the artistic.
Yeah.
And not necessarily for you, because I'm assuming this is self-funded and you can do what you like, and that's the whole point. But if you're going to be a gun for hire, which eventually I guess you may want to be, so that you may be making projects for someone else, you may find yourself in a situation where you're asked to make a film with someone else's money.
With sacrifices.
And well, that's exactly right. That's exactly what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
And then that becomes the pull, isn't it? The push-pull, where you might want to do something one way because you want the artistic freedom, but then someone will say, well, hang on a minute, it's my money. I don't want it this way. And that's, I'm guessing, have you thought about that? Because that may happen, or it may have happened already, I don't know.
I will be confronted.
You're going to be confronted by that,
of course. And that's a point, interesting point. Because
compromise, I guess.
It's a compromise, and I'm not very, I don't want to make too much compromises, which is a very good point in the crowdfunding that we made. That people trust us with our ID, and it's going to be like that.
So this one was crowdfunded?
Yeah.
Now that's very interesting, because I'm always intrigued by crowdfunding, because I just wonder how you sell something, that's the wrong word,
The ID.
how you pitch the idea,
Yeah.
because you're basically asking them to invest in something that doesn't exist yet, right? So this is a project that's in your mind. You might have storyboards, and you probably did have storyboards, I'm sure, and you have the story, and you've got a script, and you can tell them all about how you feel the film is going to end up looking and the point you're trying to make. But even so, you're asking someone to trust you with their money in order to get a project made. And I'm always, we would say, flummoxed, amazed, how anyone, did you get it doesn't matter what the amount was, but did you manage to get the amount that you required to make the film the way you wanted?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah, I did.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was it more difficult than you imagined? How long did that whole process?
It's more work than I imagined.
Okay, well, tell me, because I'm really
people
intrigued.
gonna trust maybe the work you furnish to them.
Yeah.
If it's really clear and you have already images of the ambiance you're gonna have in your movie.
Yeah.
A really point of view, really clear to people.
So did you storyboard this? Did you storyboard it or not?
Yeah, we storyboarded it. We also and we also made images before we made the movie.
Right. So you got some visuals.
So, yeah, I got visuals to show to people, and say it's going to be like that. So people, it's easier for them to trust, of course. Because if they don't see anything, maybe it's just an idea, and they could put some images on the ID, but having images already is very efficient.
And you can't make the film until you've got the sum of money you need, whatever that is. And the reason I'm asking these questions is because it's going to be useful for reference, because I'm interested to know how you went about this. And so, again, you need a certain amount of money. You can't make a film until you've got that amount of money. So I'm assuming you haven't actually got a start date. You can't have a start date until you know you've got the money in. You might have a proposed start date, but that might be not back. So it'd be nice to know how you managed, what made it different that you could get the funding, because you said you hit the funding. What was the key to it, and how long did it take, and how much work was involved? Sorry, that's several questions there.
No, that's okay.
You know, how did you plan that? How long did it take? And what did you do to make the difference, to make sure you got the funding?
Yeah. In this case, it's a bit. I have to talk about the co-director.
Yeah.
Which is a friend of mine who is dead before the film was finished, and we made it together. And this guy was known as a very talented guy in the city of Brussels.
Right.
And have had lots of connections also.
Right.
Maybe if you work in other places before, you have connections who trust you in your work.
Yeah.
That you're a serious guy, and
you can bring that with you.
You can bring that in your project, of course. You can also make a project without money, I think. You know, with good ideas, actor who are gonna make free.
I agree, but a filmmaker said to me a while ago, and it stuck in my mind, exactly what you said. He said, Steve, you can make the film with a lot less money, but what you want to do is make the film the way you want it to look. And to do that, you need the money. So you can do it, but then you see, that's the compromise, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you can make it with less money or no money, but is that film going to be the same way you want it? I doubt it very much.
No, of course.
Because you can't, can you?
Yeah.
So anyway, sorry, the co-director, I interrupted.
Yeah. And he died in an avalanche.
Oh my God.
Before it's finished, so it touched lots of people around us.
What, skiing avalanche was it?
Skiing, yeah.
And where was it? Well, France. Was it in France?
It was in Switzerland, I think. Yeah,
oh my God.
Switzerland. Between Switzerland, Italy and France. Something.
So he must have been like you, must have been very young.
And he was very young, like 25.
Oh my God.
So very sad, yeah. And his family helped me a lot in having that money. And so I don't have like the usual story of making this crowdfunding and money, because it's a bit, you know.
It's different.
It's a bit different because it had a part in the whole story of that movie.
What, because of this very sad death, a consequence of that was they helped you and they helped
people.
Right,
helping
okay,
me, yeah.
That's very rare and very unusual, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So the crowdfunding I'm talking about is not a you can't really use yours as an example of that because it doesn't. Although you may have got some money from crowdfunding, I don't know.
But anyway, people gonna give money if they believe in the idea. I don't think they just gave money because someone is dead and it's sad and we have to.
No, they've got to believe in the project, haven't they? Yeah.
Because it's not just those people. It's a bit more. If you want to make a film, it's kind of it's money.
Yeah, and it's a collaboration. It's money.
And it's a collaboration. So the idea is important. So what was the question? Just
no, it was how did you plan the crowdfunding?
Yeah.
What made it so you could get the money, and how long did it take?
Yeah. So it's promises that you give to people, and they have to trust you're gonna make it. And after rewards. I made after the movie. I invited all people who helped me to make a huge party and a projection of the movie, and make kind of giving news, kind of cohesion of group of this. Like if people was part of the movie in giving a bit of money in it, and I think this feeling to people makes them part of a project, which is good.
And had you? I know you said that the film was finished, wasn't finished till after he passed away, but had you started making the film before he passed away? Was he involved at all? Involved in terms of the creation of the film? Had the whole process started, or was this?
We started before.
Well, okay, so he had been involved in actually making the film.
Yeah.
And how long did it all take to, from the start?
The whole thing?
Yeah, from start to finish. Because I assume there was a pause after he died, of course.
Yeah. A year and a half, 2 years, something like that.
Right, okay. So it's kind
from editing, finish, color grading, everything, 2 years.
So it's kind of a project that you wanted, tinged with massive sadness, really. Because of course, it's always going to be that film where this terrible event happened.
It's always going to remind me.
It's remind you. Yeah.
And when I go to a festival, I'm not with him.
Yeah.
But I carry it for both of us, which is a beauty in a way. I'm happy to make that for him, and at the end of the movie, I dedicated it to him.
Yeah.
So it's also a way to make him live. Those images.
Forever, really.
For his parents also, was very important to see a finished work of their son.
And do they like the film?
Yes, they liked it very much.
Oh, thank goodness, that's
and
great.
they were very proud of their son because he made the cinematography, which is.
Yeah, because the film looks really good.
Yeah, I think it was really my friend. I believed in it. I knew if I made a movie with him, it's gonna be good images.
Well, no, because funnily enough, just before you turned up, I watched about 10 minutes of it again just to remind myself of the film, because I get to see hundreds of films, and including yours, but I have to remind myself again, just so I went through 5-10 minutes of it. And it looks really good. So what's next? If we move away from, have you got anything else that you're looking at? Have you made anything since?
Lots of next things, but too concrete.
Right, okay.
A second movie I finished to write, and I want to make it with a friend who worked also on this one.
Yeah.
And more narrative way of making a movie, like less experimental.
Yeah. So more, God, I don't want to say this, but more traditional.
More traditional, we can say that.
And that's a patronising thing to say, but you know what I mean by more mainstream,
A way of telling a story that's more traditional,
Yeah.
ABC,
Yeah.
The initial part and then the transformation and the end. This one is a bit experimental in the way of telling, and maybe it talks to less people, maybe, because people are used to being taken by the hand for the way of telling story, and I take a bit less risk on that for the second one, and I'm gonna play in it also, and I'm really excited.
That always intrigues me. I spoke to a filmmaker yesterday from Switzerland, and obviously I speak to lots of filmmakers that are directors and actors and actresses, writers, producers, editors, and I always struggle with the concept of somebody acting their own film, because I always wonder how they can be independent, because the whole to me, the whole point of making a film is taking direction from someone. And I know that's a struggle you have, I get that.
Yeah.
But if you're making a film and you're directing that film, you're directing yourself, how can you be absolutely sure the performance you are giving is the best performance you can give? Because you're going to be influenced by yourself, looking back at yourself, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to say is if I was directing you, I'm sure I'd get a different result. Because you're listening to yourself, aren't you? You've got to, yeah, does that, you've got to trust that. Okay, another way to put it is this, actually maybe is a better way. I always struggle when I think of filmmakers that edit their own films.
Yeah.
Because I think when you edit your own film, you're not looking at a film with an independent eye. And as brutal as it can be to make scene cuts, I always wonder, you've got to trust and believe that the editor you bring in will make the right choice. Now you may not agree with that because you're the filmmaker. No, I've got to keep this scene in. But by the same token, you're hiring them to do a job, and that job is to make that decision, whether you agree or not. And most of the time, editors know what they're doing, right? So it's conversely the same with acting. Do you ever think, am I giving it the best? Because it's kind of similar, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know,
it's kind of similar.
Because you're being seduced. I guess you're being seduced by yourself, aren't you? Yeah. You're trusting and believing yourself. You're giving the best performance.
And I start with my strength in the play, in the acting.
Yeah.
So like I start the movie with how I'm gonna play that, how am I gonna tell that, who I am as an actor.
Yeah.
Who I am as a human on Earth, and what am I gonna tell? And I think I'm the good person to make it because it's the story I want to tell as an actor. So I'm like more motivated to tell that story.
Yeah.
And I could be really motivated in a story I'm just interested into. So if I'm interested in my own story, I'm like really excited to play it, and it's gonna be, I think, a good result for me. Because editing is like more. It's a bit more mental work.
Yeah,
acting is not really mental work. It's mental before when I write, and then I'm not mental anymore. And I say to the director, I'm your puppet.
It's so interesting that you didn't like acting because you're being told what to do, or for whatever reason you're being directed to someone. But being directed by yourself, you love doing that, and that's very interesting. I'm not saying you won't ever act for anyone else, or maybe you will. I don't know. But
I do.
Yeah, well, you do. Okay, you do. But it feels to me as though the joy of acting is more with you telling yourself what to do, rather than someone else telling you. I mean, that's just my opinion.
But it's different with different people.
Yeah, of course.
I think there is different kind of actors with those things, and I have something I want to make by my own, and I know it's very important to give some to give the work to other people as well.
Yeah.
Editing can be really a best work with someone else who's going to take the choices, like you said.
I love it.
I love those images. I don't want to take them away. You know, it's difficult to make the choices by yourself. So that's why it's very important to have a director who says to me, "That's not interesting, Ben," and I will hear to him, and I'm not taking all the decisions by myself.
Fantastic, Benoit. Before we go, there's two things I need to speak to you about. Obviously, people can't see you because it's an audio interview. First of all, Benoit's broken his foot falling out of a tree reading a book, which is bizarre but true. Sitting over a plaster cast on. Secondly, he's wearing a really cool shirt with what I think is zebras on it. Is that correct?
Zebras, yes.
So again, no one here can visualise it, but it's a really cool shirt, nice jacket as well, and it's bizarre because he's got this broken foot in front of me. But a fantastic interview. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Steve.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.